I've been obsessing over lace paper recently. A random video just popped up in my YouTube feed and it caught my eye and I immediately had to jump in and try. And I learned what to do. I learned what not to do. I learned what I like best. So I'm going to share that with you, and I will link to that video so that you can go watch. I can't remember off the top of my head who it was, but she has a great channel. You should subscribe. And definitely watch this technique and the technique and the instructions for the paste that she used, because we're going to use that today, I think. So I started making mine with the intention of book covers. So that's what I'm going to show you today. I think on the video she showed something like this where it's pretty on both sides. You just use, decorative napkins. This was a napkin, or you can use tissue paper, or I used book pages, whatever. But I didn't see any sense to do it on both sides if I'm going to use it for a book cover, because I'm going to glue one side down, right? So I'll show you how I'm going to do that. That's what I did on most of these, once I figured out what I was doing. I just used, this was an old book page. It's a really good way to use up some of those really old pages that we tend to get, and they're really crumbly. There's just not a lot you can do with them. You can do this because you're just going to put a lot of glue on them, and that's what I used on here, and it held up great. I did add some distress ink, and then I went around the holes with a Stabilo pencil and just made it a little more so it would stand out against the coffee dyed background paper. So I love that, and I'm just making simple little journals. Just had coffee dyed paper in it, and mine I'm sewing the signatures on my sewing machine, but you can just do a simple pamphlet stitch or long stitch, whatever you're comfortable with, because it doesn't show. I'm putting my lace paper over the binding. So that's what that was. This one was tissue paper, and I used Yes Paste on it, and then my strings were the baker's twine. And this was a watercolor paper cover, and I've treated it with glycerin. I think I have a video on that, on how to get these soft. Did I do a video on glycerin? I think I did. I'll have to look for that. But anyway, you can do what you want for your cover. And then my signature, these were just some cardstock eco prints that I wasn't crazy about. They just all turned out kind of yellow and blobby, but they make a nice little eco journal. You could use for some kind of nature journal, or make your own little field guide or whatever. So there's that one. This was tissue paper that I also used with Yes Paste. Was it Yes Paste, or did I use the cornstarch? Well, now I can't remember. I think it was Yes Paste. I used Yes Paste on most of these. And this was just another, random eco prints. And then this one was, the cover's a little delicate because it's just a gel print piece of paper. And I did put the glycerin on it so that it's really soft, but it had pretty on both sides, so I didn't want to reinforce it with anything. And then I used some of my baby powder resist papers for the signature, and then just a decorative yarn, and this was also Yes Paste. I found that I did like using Yes Paste, so if you've got it, you can use it. I did water it down quite a bit because, you want it thin, and Yes Paste is okay with that. You can get it pretty darn thin and it'll still stick. So that is a good option if you have it. Mod Podge is an option that I don't like. It does work, but the idea is to tear holes in these little sections, and that's really hard to do with Mod Podge because it's plasticky. So I mean, you can do it. I used a little pair of scissors and cut a hole which is fine. It's doable. I practiced with melting holes, and I used a soldering iron, I used a hot wire, and I used a hot knife. Thinking one of them would be awesome. I mean, they all worked. They made holes, but also the heat kind of leaves a little melted ridge around each hole, and I didn't like that. I don't like the way it feels. So, yeah. And these will tear. You have to, you know, poke a little hole, and then, you know, you can tear the Mod Podge if you're so inclined. Cutting it, you know, I think I've just felt like it was either or. You know, it's a little better if you cut it. You can tear it. It's just a little bit harder to tear. So yeah, there's that. If Mod Podge is all you have, you can use it, I think is the bottom line here. It just wasn't my favorite. This one was also Yes Paste, and it just tears easier. It's better. This one was Mod Podge. This was just a big old fat lesson in what not to do, because I was using my table cover. I used a piece of parchment paper, and this was tissue paper on the top and on the bottom, but it completely stuck to the parchment paper. Like, it's glued down, y'all. It's glued down good. So, and I thought it would work, because the other ones I'd use Yes Paste on my parchment, and it came up just fine. So I thought the Mod Podge would just peel up too. It didn't. It stuck. So yeah, this was a big no. Don't do that. So I think today we're going to use cornstarch paste. Now this is what she used on the video that I watched. And it's weird. I've never used this before, but she had another video for instructions on how to make it. And depending on where you live, it can be corn flour. But here in the States, it's cornstarch. And I just used 2 tablespoons of cornstarch and dissolved it in a cup of water, just room temperature, cold water, whatever. And then you pour that in a saucepan and bring it to a boil and kind of whisk it constantly until it gets thick and kind of grayish, clear gray, what am I trying to say? Translucent color. And then you let it cool, and you've got this really super weird paste, y'all. This is bizarre. But you have to keep it in the fridge, so that's why it's in this little sandwich container. And she said it would keep for, I don't know, 3 or 4 days, like leftovers. So this is not something I would use often, but I find that for this technique, this is the one that I like best. This is the one I used on this one, and the tearing was just so much easier, and it was so much more organic, and I liked it. So yeah, I'm going to use the cornstarch paste today. So what I'm going to do is start with, okay, since I've got a book in mind, I'm, you know, doing books, so I've put together what I want for my book. I had this stack of Momagami-ish pages that have just been sitting there doing nothing, looking cute. So I thought, well, they would make a cute little signature and like an arty book, right? So I've got a piece of dark blue cardstock for my cover, and on the inside, this was just a gel print page that was in my painty paper stash. That's going to be the inside of my cover, like this. And then for the outside of the cover, this is a gel print cleanup page. You know, I like my cleanup prints better than my regular ones. So I'm going to glue this on here. And then my lace paper is going to be, this was another gel print painty paper. Pretty sure this was alcohol ink. I don't really remember. But the way it bled through, it feels like it was an alcohol ink print. So this will be my lace paper, and it's going to be glued down, so I don't need a pretty backside. I'm just going to use this tissue, plain tissue. And this is like wrapping paper tissue, so it's super thin. I'm thinking maybe it might want 2 layers. Because, yeah, that's really thin. So what I did, you know, my lace, or my Momogami papers were already done, and they're like a half sheet of a regular piece of paper. This was their size. So I cut my cardstock a little bit bigger. So, you know, because you want your book cover to be a little bit bigger than your insides. But my lace paper, that is about the same size as my signatures. So if you want to do it like I'm doing, you have your signatures, your cover's a little bit bigger, and then your lace paper overlay is about the same size as your signatures, because you want it to be a little smaller than your cover. So that's what all these are. So it does, you get this look. Okay? So I don't know what the measurements are. You don't need to measure, just eyeball it. And you can cut them, you can tear them, you know, whatever. Just do what makes you happy. So first thing I'm going to do is finish my cover, and then we'll start on the lace paper. And this was just, you know, like I said, one piece of paper. And this I'm pretty sure was treated with glycerin. Should I show that first? Okay, I'll show that first. This is a plain piece of cardstock, not even a thick one, kind of thin one. And this is the same cardstock treated with glycerin. So you can see it's different. It's more, you could just wad it. It's bendy, it's foldy, it's fabulous. It's just softer. It almost feels like fabric. And that's the only reason for this, really, is just to make a soft, almost fabric feeling piece of paper. So all I do is take a wet brush, I take your cardstock or whatever paper you're using, and wet it, and then brush it around so that it's kind of evenly wet. Oh, and make sure you pick up all the grunge off of your mat here that you didn't bother to clean. Oh well. And then you take your glycerin that you bought a while ago for something that you can't remember, but apparently you did a whole lot of whatever it was, because this is only this much left. You can get this on Amazon. You can get a much smaller container too. I really do wish I knew what I used that for. Anyway, you're going to use like maybe a tablespoon and spread it around. And if you want to do this, you're probably going to want to do this a day ahead, because this really needs to dry. It's best if it dries naturally, and you're going to need to leave it overnight. I usually end up heating mine, and which you can do, but if you iron it, you're going to burn off some of the glycerin. It will smoke, and I don't know if that smoke is toxic. This is food grade glycerin, so hopefully it's not. But yeah, you'll burn it right off, and sometimes I do that anyway just because I'm in a hurry. And the paper ends up not as soft as if you let it dry naturally. But yeah, it takes a while, because not only is it drying, it's soaking into the fibers. So yeah, you just kind of work it in. Really good like that. And then put it somewhere to dry. I've got these little hooks in my garage, and I'll just put it, you know, a couple clips here, and then just let it hang to dry. I may hit it with my heat gun until it's just not quite so slimy And it's not oily. You know, glycerin is what they use in a lot of lotions and things. So it's very moisturizing. You can, you know, it's good. You can rub it into your skin. But there's just a lot of it on here that hasn't soaked in. And you can see the paper starting to turn where it's soaking, and it's just going to kind of continue to do that. So I'm going to go put this out in the garage and let it dry. Now I'm going to, this is going to be my book cover, and this is my cover inside outside, so I'm just going to glue that onto there. I really should have done that beforehand, but I didn't. Alright. I'm just going to Mod Podge this on here. And like I said, I think there is some glycerin in this cardstock. There's not a lot because it's still pretty stiff. And glycerin can act as a resist for glue. Now it'll stick. I've had, you know, everything I've done with Mod Podge on glycerin paper has stuck, but I've had to work at it a little bit. You know, heat it and press it. So you just might have to kind of convince it to stick, but it will eventually stick. Okay. That, and then lay this on here. Now, this is gonna crease right here, and I want to do that while the glue is wet, because if you don't, then it's gonna crack your spine. Nobody likes a cracked spine, right? So, bend it, fold it the way you want it while the glue is wet. So there's my cover. Then I'm just going to trim off this excess, make sure my edges are stuck good, and then we'll start on our lace paper. Now my cover is finished inside and out, so I'm going to set it aside, and let's get our lace paper going. Okay, we've got our tissue and our painting paper. So what I'm going to do is use this paste stuff to, I'm just going to put a coat on the sheet here. Yeah, see, it's weird. I mean, it'll spread, but you've got to kind of convince it that it wants to. Okay. And then I'm going to put, and the way I've been doing these is whichever paper is the heaviest, that's the one that I start with. So for the, okay, my camera angle looks, oh no, there we go. That was throwing me off. Okay, so this, you know, I've got the super light paper and then the heavier paper. So I'm going to put the heavy paper down, and that's the one that I'm going to do first. So I'm going to put it face down, just like that. And then I'm going to put some more of this cornstarch paste on it. You're going to want to use a soft bristled brush, especially if your papers are really thin. Because you don't want to tear anything. See, it's getting wrinkled because it's swelling. And oh, no! Stop, stop, stop! Okay, apparently I didn't put enough paste down to prevent, shoot, sticking. Okay, okay. We're going to keep going because I'm going to use that piece of paper, by gosh. Okay. I'm going to get all of the paste on here. Y'all, like, this is how I have done literally every single one of those, and nothing has stuck like that. And you know the reason, it's because the camera's on. That's the way it always works. I'm going to let this dry. I'm going to get my other mat and put this back down. We've got some injuries, but that's okay. Just going to put it on the dry mat. We'll do it that way. I am not really sure why that did that. My only clue was that I had paste in some areas and not in others, so it made it want to stick. Oh, now I'm all nervous that it's just going to keep sticking. I'm not putting parchment on there because I already had that problem. Alright, hopefully that'll be okay. Now we've got paste on here. And now we need strings. And I'm going to use these, this one I think would look good. This is that baker's twine. You can cut your strings ahead of time or do it as you go. Doesn't matter. And I'm going to kind of space these kind of far apart so that we've got big enough holes that I can show you. And this paper is a little thicker than most of the others that I've used. So we're just going to see how it goes. Most of them have been thin tissue. I did do the book page, which did really, really good. Now these you can put, you know, super straight and even, or you can do them wonky. This one I did like intentionally wonky. See, when I put the strings down, I just purposefully made them wiggly. And I really like how that looked. But you can do them straight if you want. You do you. And I do like to kind of not have a string right on the spine. I can see where the middle of this is. So I'm going to kind of purposefully avoid that. And let's see, how far apart do I want these? Yeah, we'll just do that many. And you don't have to do them, you don't have to weave them over and under because they're going to be glued down. So just lay them down. And let's see. One more or two more? Two more. Okay. There we go. Now our next layer is our tissue. I'll lay that down and get a piece of parchment, dollar store parchment. Hey, maybe that's why my Mod Podge stuck to it. And I'm just kind of pressing down on all my strings because you don't want any bubbles if you can avoid it. Oh, that did nicely. Okay, that was just one layer of tissue, and I think I'm just going to leave it that one layer because that stuck really well. Okay, now you want some more paste. It's just a lot of paste. And this you'll want to be very, very careful because, yeah, thin tissue. Okay, that looks good. It's practically invisible, but it's there. Oh, now I'm nervous because we got to pick it up, turn it back over. Okay, no new wounds. Now, lay that there, and then we want to paste over this on this side. Alright, got a thin, even layer of paste on this side, and now I'm gonna try with my, I'll do a little test area with my parchment just to make sure it's not gonna stick. Oh, I think it'll be okay. Just to go over my strings. Make sure it's all stuck down good. Yep, I think it is. Oh, I think fingers might work better. Yeah. Now see, I can really see my strings a lot better. That means I've got good adhesion. I think this is ready to dry. Okay, now here's another. Let's just all hold our breath. See if we can pick this up without that thin tissue on the other side sticking to the mat. Is it gonna come up? Ah, hey, it did really well. Okay. So what I'm going to do is, I have some of these little clips here. I'm going to clip these to the strings and hang this from some hooks in my garage and let this dry. Y'all, this cornstarch paste dries slow. It is, I mean, paste is known to dry slow, but it dries even slower than Yes paste. So I'm going to give it some time. I may hit it with a heat gun a little bit to, you know, encourage it along. But this will need to dry completely before we move on to making our holes. We are ready to move on. My lace paper piece finally dried. I did have to use my heat gun. Y'all, it was out there for like 2 hours and still not dry. It's just this paste dries super, super slow. But it sticks really good once it's dry. I mean, it's got some good stickage there. So I did speed that up a little bit. I finished off my book, trimmed around the edges, and went ahead and sewed my pages in. And I just used my sewing machine to do that. So it's ready to go. And then this is going to go on top. Nope. Like this. I think this is going to look really cute. So, oh, and then when I took this out there to hang it up to dry, I found another one that I forgot about. This one was a napkin, and it was just, I peeled the napkin and used the printed part here, and then you have the liner pieces. I used one of the liner pieces on the back. This was so delicate and tedious because it was delicate and made me really nervous because, that napkin liner paper is just super thin, but it worked. It, was really thin. It stuck, it went over, and then I just made some holes. And I don't even have a book in mind for this one, but I'm willing to bet I can come up with a handful of painty papers and, knock one out like that. So there's that. Now, this you can start tearing however you want. I find that most of mine, I like to just tear all the little holes. I just like it. I like that look. You can leave some of them not torn and do, that kind of look. Totally up to you. Just however you want to do it. I did finally learn that when I do tear on these edges, I like to start right up against the string and then tear to right up against the string and do like that. Otherwise, most of the holes I kind of stay away from the string because I don't want any naked string showing. And if something didn't adhere good, that's what's going to happen. But let me show you what I'm talking about so you can kind of see maybe. Okay. See, starting right at the string and then going right up to the string. That way you get these little pointy pieces. If you don't do it like that and you just kind of take a hunk out of the middle, then you get these weird kind of squared off ends. This one. See? Kind of a little, well, I don't even know how to describe it. But I don't like that look. I don't like these weird kind of, see? It's kind of like a boop and a boop and like that. I don't want that, so I like to tear that off so that they're more pointy, if that makes sense. And these are the way I'm tearing them. You've got this thing going here. This is like a good opportunity to go in with something and decorate that. I'm gonna see how I feel once I get through with all this. So I'm going to go through and tear me just all different sizes of holes all around the edges, and then in the middle. Oh yeah, that's the spine. It's got a bigger one. That. So yeah, I'll go do that, and then in the middle ones, I'm probably going to have to poke me a hole. Where's my little scissors? So, let's see how this, yeah, just poke a hole so I can tear that. And I'll do some of them big, some small. Yeah, I was worried this paper might be thick and difficult to tear, but it's not. It's doing really well. So, that's the plan for this. I'm just going to finish making my holes, and then we will finish out our book. I tore all my little holes, and I am very happy with my piece of lace paper. Now, if you see the way that I tore the holes the direction that I tore them in, left this little white edge. It's just one of the layers of the paper. And I'm thinking that that edge might look cool if it had a little gold on it, you know? A little something shiny. So I'm going to take, this is my favorite gold paint pen, Pen Touch from Sakura, 2mm gold. I've had it forever and a day. There's like barely anything left in it. But yeah, I would buy it again. It's one of the shiniest golds that I've got in my collection of gold pens. So I'm just going to go around and just kind of touch some gold onto these edges. Just like that. Because I think that looks cool. Get a little reflective there. Yep. So I'm just going to do that to every one of these. I'm not going to make you sit here and watch each one. I'm going to hold it up here where I can see. And just cover that white, which is not necessarily a bad thing, but I think it would look better gold. So I'll do that, and then we'll glue it on our cover. That was exactly what it needed. Just some little shinies. Okay, now I'm ready to glue this onto my cover. Like that. I am just going to use some Mod Podge and get this stuck down. Now if you use Yes Paste and then you go to glue this onto your cover with Mod Podge, the water in the Mod Podge will reactivate the Yes Paste and it'll kind of make it get a little gummy and weird. So you'll want to be real careful with that. You know, instead of just going all over with the Mod Podge, I would probably just do it underneath and then stick it down, you know, kind of wipe away any excess. Use your parchment paper to stick it really good. It'll work because, you know, that's what I did here on these that had Yes Paste, but I just had to kind of pay attention and be careful so that the Mod Podge didn't melt off on my Yes Paste. It doesn't melt it off, it just reactivates it and then the brush kind of wipes it away. So yeah, be aware. So that's all there is to this. I'm just going to keep going around. I'm going to Mod Podge, even the matte, it does have a little bit of a sheen to it. So anytime I'm doing something like this, you know, I'm going to cover the whole thing, not just the sections that are being glued, because I don't want there to be a difference in the finish between one section and another. I want it to all look the same. So even these areas that don't have anything glued to them, they still get Mod Podge. Well, that's all there is to that. I'll use a little heat to speed it up, and it makes the Mod Podge stickier. I love this. I love when things turn out the way that they looked in my mind. That's just like the best ever. Very nice. And now this side. Ta-da! Now we have a little artist book, journal, whatever, with a cover decorated with handmade lace paper. So that's all there is to it. Y'all, this is not hard. You probably got everything on hand already. Good way to bind up some of those painty papers, or coffee dyed papers, or eco prints that you've been making and not using. Bind them up into a book. And I don't know what I'm going to do with these. At the rate I'm making them, I might just make up a whole bunch and have them on hand for an upcoming craft fair or something. We have all kinds of events like that where I live. So yeah, maybe I'll do that. I don't know, but they're just fun to make, and that's the point, is the fun of the making. So dive in, have fun, and until next time, the end.